reparations for colonialism, and they're wondering, $100 billion, $24 billion here and there, $500 million there. Some people want to be paid back, and members of the public are wondering, why are we suffering when you are, you have all of this vast wealth? Those are legitimate concerns.
Well, I think you're right about reparations in terms of if people want it, though, what they need to do is you always need to go back to the beginning of a supply chain. Where was the beginning of the supply chain? That was in Africa, and across the entire world, when the slavery was taking place, which was the first nation in the world that abolished slavery? The first nation in the world to abolish it. It was started by William Wilberforce, was the British. In Great Britain, they abolished slavery. 2,000 naval men died on the high seas trying to stop slavery. Why? Because the African kings were rounding up their own people. They had them on cages waiting in the beaches. No one was running into Africa to get them. And I think you're totally right. If reparations need to be paid, we need to go right back to the beginning of that supply chain and say who was rounding up their own people and having them handcuffed in cages. Absolutely, that's where they should start. And maybe, I don't know, the descendants of those families where they died in the high seas trying to stop the slavery, that those families should receive something too, I think, at the same time.
It's an interesting discussion, Hillary. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Don Lemon wasn't ready for that answer. And, this answer is an answer that I have given for years. I've always asked people who are talking about reparations, why don't you go back to the country or to the people who actually captured and sold these slaves to the white traders? It's a valid question. If Africans weren't selling their own, people wouldn't have to buy. And Africans, keep making it sound like they were the victims. No, the people who perpetrated the crime most of the time are the ones who are still way back there in Africa, and they have generational wealth from slavery. So why don't all of the African Americans and everyone in the Bahamas who is asking for reparations go back there and demand reparations from the people or the tribes who stole your ancestors from their homes and sent them to the coast in horrible conditions, chained them, put them in cages, and then sold them for mirrors? It's a brilliant answer. I enjoy seeing things like this because it only shines a light on the hypocrisy that is out there. And it's not as if people like Don Lemon don't have an intelligence, people like Don Lemon don't think intelligently and can actually come up with some of these thoughts. But they want to lean into a narrative in order to stoke certain sentiments. Well, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think that the entire conversation around reparations is a fraudulent conversation. The people who are pushing it, the civil rights activists, are all grifters and they should be ignored. And I believe that we should all leave the past where it is in the past. We can learn from it, but we need to move on and forgive and move into a future where everyone is judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting, and they did a lot of blasting, even not going through the front door. You think you go through the door. If you're a normal person, you say, knock, knock, may I come in?
After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
He died like a dog.
But his death does not mark the end of our effort.
A beautiful dog, a talented dog.
We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation.
And I don't get any credit for this, but that's okay. I never do. But here we are.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
And I'm writing a book. I wrote 12 books. All did very well.